All right. So excited. I am here with Tara Moreno, and she is the founder and proprietor of Serenity House of Flint. And I've been talking about you on social media and making posts and letting people know that a portion of the proceeds for the retreat that we're having next weekend is going to your organization. And what really struck me, and I believe that many empaths can relate to this, is our need to cope with the world. We feel so deeply and we feel so much. Um, the passing of Michael Williams, I think, has impacted so many people because he's such a light. But when you look at an actor that is able to go to those depths that he was able to go, there's a story there. There was a lived experience that enabled you to go to those really dark places, but yet he was still so much light. And when you would just hear him speak, you could just feel so much depth and warmth come off of his being. And so I would love for you to share with our listeners more about your work, but also how empaths, in particular, I know not every person that is struggling with substance abuse is necessarily an empath, but empaths do and can struggle with just coping with the world. So if you could just share more about your work, how you and even your method to me really struck out, the way you approach the work. So if you could just share, how you arrived here and how you even developed this methodology.
Yeah, thank you, Brahanda, for inviting me, first of all, and for all of the support that you provided. It means a lot to me and my team and those that we're impacting, for sure. I am a person in long-term recovery, which means that I have walked through the darkness and I've experienced a life where I was in survival mode and I was completely disconnected from my body and my heart, really trying to fill that void. And I began my ascent out of the darkness in 2007. I went to rehab.
Okay.
And I started to do a 12-step program. I started recovery. I started seeking help with my codependency issues. And I was a news reporter. And I was, at the end of this journey with the 12 steps. And, it was easy for me to walk the 12 steps because I didn't have to really name a God that, I didn't have to, it was a God of my understanding, whatever I wanted to put on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was looking for something deeper. I was looking for a deeper walk with peace and with that bliss and that joy that I had heard about, but I had never really experienced. And at the level that I do now. And that's when I decided to become the founder of the Serenity House of Flint. And I knew that when I did find this peace and I did find, I started unlocking these doors within me, that I had to help other people do the same. 12 steps is a good program and it has helped a lot of people, but there are other avenues out there to take and to walk that can deepen your journey, your connection to yourself, right? And getting to that inner kingdom within, and, mhm. and, and that's that empathy piece that you do. And, I've been watching your work as well. And, the empathy piece it makes it even trickier, right? Because it's very difficult to identify at times, is this mine or is this theirs?
Right.
And in the emotional work that we embark on, in this healing journey, once we become familiar with our own emotions and we begin to name our emotions, and when we really get to become friends with all of our emotions and not label them as bad or good, they just really are. And when we can come to that neutral position around emotions, then it gets a lot easier to be able to identify what is yours and what isn't yours, because you've become intimately involved with your emotions. You've named them, you've seen them, you've let them in. They've sat at your table time and time again as you have become accustomed to their presence. Right. And then when something comes along and you're like, okay, I'm feeling really off here. Like something, I went to the store and I come home and all of a sudden my mood shifts. And then you're like, ooh, like I picked up on somebody's stuff and it is not mine. And then, creating that ritual or that process to begin to release those energies from your field and to feel and release. And the whole
Mhm.
game is to feel and release, even your own stuff, right? It's like feel, identify, and release. And that's that, the ebb and that flow.
Yeah, yeah. I love that so much. And I think you really hit on something too that's really profound, that, you're a news anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we think that addiction has a certain face, it has a certain look, it's only for a certain community. So if you could dive deeper into what it looks like, who it is, and yeah, really help us name it.
So, addiction, there's about 23 million Americans in long term recovery right now. We don't know these people because they've remained anonymous, right? So, Alcoholics Anonymous, Codependent Anonymous, Sex Anonymous, it's all the anonymous programs, right? So, what I'm doing with Serenity House is I'm saying, let's recover out loud. Let's
Mm,
begin to normalize recovery from substances, recovery from people, bad relationships, recovery from trauma, childhood trauma, mental health issues, right? Because that stigma is what's killing us. Half the battle is the identification and saying, yes, I have this problem. Now you can start to seek help, right?
mm. And I love that you were naming things that are not necessarily substances, because I have, in working with many empaths, there's this there are patterns that we can get into when we try to sex it away, people
Mm-hmm.
please,
Mm-hmm.
end up in, you mentioned codependent relationships, abusive relationships, the narcissist. We can get involved with people with narcissistic tendencies. So you can even help us name, even beyond your drug of choice or addiction of choice. What are some ways that we can tell that we are in a pattern or an unhealthy habit?
By the way you feel, right? So your feelings and your emotions are signals. And if you're crying every day or you're crying often, it means that you're out of alignment. And it means that you're making decisions in your life that need some major decisions that need to happen in terms of shifting your life into a different pattern. Whether it's the job that you have, your work, whether it's a relationship, whether, it's, could be a plethora of things. Um, that's the indicator, is the way you feel.
And what you just said, they don't teach us that in school. They don't teach us to get in touch with our feelings in the way that you express, intimately in touch. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, with our feelings. So if you can even share just a snippet about the process that you take someone through, because I know that there's someone under the sound of my voice, either they're struggling or they know someone who is struggling. Sort of, what is your process?
So I want people to be aware that we can only help people who have a willingness. That's the first thing, right? So too many of us are trying to save people who do not want any help. We have to first ask ourselves the question, are these people open and willing to be able to even receive the information I'm trying to give them? And then
Mm.
once you figure that out, you set that boundary with people, then you can decipher, where is my energy best spent? Because we only have so much energy in the day, right? So then
Yeah.
once you find out who's ready for the help, then you can begin to break it down and see how deep are they willing to go. Like for me, it was like I was at the end of my rope. I was willing to do anything. Just guide me in the direction so I can feel better. Because I did not, right? Did not feel good at all for a long time. And I took those steps. And those steps to feel better can be, I mean, for me, it was the Reiki, like getting into diet changes, like radical diet changes, completely omitting certain foods from my diet that I happen to be allergic to mentally and
Mhm.
emotionally. And it blew my mind that I could have ever been allergic mentally or emotionally to a food, until you start to learn about the power of food, and you intimately get to know food, right? The present moment. So, with helping people, there just needs to be a willingness and an openness to whatever. And then, listening. It's to help people. It's just, they will tell you like what they need, and you will just simply mirror back to them what they're saying to you. It just, sometimes they're so out of touch with their inner world, they can't even see their truth, right? So as
Mm.
healers, our job is to be mirrors, letting people know that you have the power within you to heal, that you can facilitate your own healing. I am here to just help you see and do some nudges in the right direction, but you are your own healer. And this is that empowering aspect of healing. I don't see clients. I tell my clients, you come see me for 4 weeks, once a week. And that's enough for me to help you to get a shift, a very, from a mild shift to a very extreme shift in your wellness. I mean, I've been able to help people all the way from, just helping to shift into a new lifestyle with work or whatever, more money, to completely eradicating bipolar disorder, where somebody got off a disability a few months later and started working actively. I've been able to help people with tumors, benign tumors, after 11 years on her wrist. It was gone after the first session with the Reiki that I do.
Mhm.
So these are right. So, and I know that maybe it's like, what, like Reiki, like, but I want people to understand that the more you work on yourself and the higher vibration you become, the more you can manipulate this three-dimensional reality with really the way with the energy. You learn to channel that energy. And the sages throughout time have been teaching us this forever.
Right.
It's in many different religions and many different texts. Jesus was one of the most prolific ones to be able to manipulate the three-dimensional reality.
That's right. That's right. You told us that it was your faith that has healed you. And yeah, such a constant demonstrator of, you know, being actualized when when you're tapped in, really tapped into the universal power that's everywhere present. So I love that you brought that up. So I could talk to you forever, and I'm just curious, how can people get involved? I know that they're, again, under the sound of my voice, whether people are catching the replay or not. If you're tuned in, please share this live with your community because I would believe healing does happen in community. It's not
Mhm,
just in isolation. We
mhm.
heal when we're in community, and we're inviting you all out next week. So, um, empaths, please join us because healing does happen in community. And um, we would love to hear where we can find you, find your work, and connect more deeply with your work.
Yep. So I have two different organizations. So I've got the Serenity House of Flint. The website for that is www.flintserenityhouse.org. And that's all of our work around the stigma of addiction, helping people heal from addiction, codependency, and traumas, people that need affordable services that can't afford the service. And then I have greenterraholistic.com. That's greenterraholistic.com. And those are my trainings, my one-on-one sessions, my retreat that I have coming up in Costa Rica. I have this very bold retreat that we are planning where we'll be doing restorative yoga, holistic healing every day, cacao ceremony and excursions, swimming in a waterfall, and just really connecting though in a community with a community of people who are on a healing path and they're doing that emotional work. They know, what it's like to be an empath, right? To be able to feel so intensely and so deeply. And I've made the trip 4 times. This is my 5th time. It's an incredible trip. It's an affordable trip. We have a special right now for $500 off if you bring a friend for one of our private queen rooms. So that's my biggest project that I got going on right now. But for Serenity House, we are having a walk and rally next Saturday, a week from Saturday, to help the stigma of recovery. It's all around the family. So that's going to be at our office location in Flint, downtown Flint. So for those of you who are in the area.
Well, we will definitely be sharing this video with our community so that people can get in touch with you. But I am just so glad that we were able to connect. And I am just, whatever you need from me to support you in this work, because it's needed and it's powerful. And I know that it's possible. Healing is definitely possible. So thank you so much, Tara, for joining us. Please, if you're catching this on the replay, please share this with people in your community, because together we can. I know that it's possible. And Tara is a walking manifestation or manifestation of what is possible when
Yes.
we choose to heal.
Yes. Thank you so much, Brenda.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Anytime. Anytime. Always here for you. So bye for now. I'll see you all next week for the retreat. Please make sure that you sign up. The container is going to be very small, but this is going to be impactful. It's 3 days, starting with Reiki, meditation, and sound therapy, followed by some amazing coaches to help empathic business owners with their marketing strategy, soulful marketing, but also mindset work. So we're going to decolonize your money mindset, as well as get into the power of your personal story and reprogramming the subconscious mind through dream planting. So super excited. So thank you again for being with us today. And make sure, fam, that you all get your tickets, because you will not want to miss this. Peace to you.